It is day 241 of the second Trump administration, and right now the president is in the UK enjoying his second state visit and all the pomp and circumstance that comes with. He has also been greeted by massive protests there. Well, here at home, the former CDC director, who Trump appointed at that role, testified about her experiences with RFK Jr. before he flat out fired her. And FBI Director Kash Patel faced more heated questions about his leadership. This time, it was from members of the House. It all comes as the White House is planning to go after several liberal organizations after Charlie Kirk's death. My colleague Vaughn Hilliard reports the administration is set to target left-leaning groups before the end of this month. The administration says those groups have contributed to political unrest and violence against the right, though they have not presented any evidence, none, or any specific allegations that link those groups to the Kirk assassination. And this evening, the president announced that he has declared Antifa as a major terrorist organization. He also says he will strongly recommend thoroughly investigating anyone who has funded Antifa. All right, let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel tonight. And it's a good one. We needed some heavy hitters. Daniel Coe joins us, former White House Deputy Cabinet Secretary in the Biden administration and host of the People's Cabinet podcast. Jason Johnson is here, a politics and journalism professor at Morgan State University and an MSNBC political contributor. Dave Weigel, political reporter for Semaphore. And Glenn Thrush, we have not seen in ages, and I'm thrilled he's back, Justice Department reporter for the New York Times. Glenn, we are turning to you first. On one hand, some conservatives are furious with Pam Bondi's pledge to crack down on hate speech. But on the other, there's a whole lot of Trump allies who support any and all crackdowns on his opponents. What is going on here? Dare I say, I thought they didn't like cancel culture.
Well, I think there has been from the very beginning in this administration this duality in which they have justified various behaviors by saying it was done unto them, sort of a do unto others because they have done unto you, right? Even if you're not able to prove that anything necessarily had been done to you. So here we have a situation in which Bondi, who we should just kind of lay out the political dynamic here. Pam Bondi does not like Kash Patel or Dan Bongino, the FBI leader. He has had a very good week. Kash Patel has face planted on several occasions. His appearance before the Senate and House this week went okay for him, but there's no indication that his long-term future looks particularly rosy. Instead of sort of laying back and not getting out in public where she has had a rough ride, she is not considered to be by the White House a reliable surrogate, somebody who can deliver a concise message. The minute she gets out in conversations, safe space conversations, because Bondi does not talk to anyone on camera who is not a friend of hers thus far in the administration. She comes out when Sean Hannity entices her to talk about going after groups that say negative things about Charlie Kirk. And then in a podcast with Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, she talks about potentially using the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department to go after people like this Office Depot employee who refused to print a poster of Charlie Kirk. The bottom line is she was in these environments. The hosts were giving her leading questions, and she jumped at it. In the 12 hours after that, I will say I had conversations with people on her staff who walked it back, who said that she wasn't necessarily intending to do this. But clearly, Bondi, who has proven herself to be extraordinarily compliant and has helped Trump break down the traditional barriers of independence between the White House and the Justice Department, seems to be willing to go along to get along. And this is just another indication of how that is taking place with regard to what a lot of people think, including, by the way, the Wall Street Journal editorial page, was a remarkable misreading of both the Constitution and the case law regarding free speech.
Okay, there you have it right there, Dave. Mm-hmm. Compliant with Donald Trump's wishes, but not the law, right? So if you're the Department of Justice, this isn't just, social situations or friends. I think this about you. I don't like you anymore. You have to prove it. And so Pam Bondi will have to prove that laws are being broken here, A, and B, not all of Trump's world is backing this. A lot of people in the MAGA universe are saying, hold on a minute, like, this doesn't fly with us.
Well, they're rejecting the idea of going after hate speech because it was very clear to Republican senators, my colleague Burgess Everett and I talked to, that could be boomeranged against them one day. They were against that. Any talk of hate speech is something you can prosecute, unconstitutional, and that is something they're used to hearing from, frankly, Tim Walz a couple of years ago. Bit of a controversy in the campaign that he ever said that. Are they fine with the rest of what we're talking about? Yes. Everyone's aware at this point in the MAGA universe, if you are irritated with somebody that you've seen on social media and you tag Harmeet Dillon on Twitter or you tag the DOJ on X, I should say, you might get attention paid to that person. There is support for getting, frankly, revenge on people who have said unkind things, mean things about Charlie Kirk, have not celebrated him in the right way since he was assassinated. There has not been resistance to that. There's been some gloating about the people who have been laid off, who've been made famous. And I talked to some of the groups that have been called out by Republicans. Chip Roy, when he put that letter out saying, I want a House Select Committee to investigate the left. I talked to some of the groups that were mentioned in that letter. They took down their staff page on their website. They talked to counsel. They talked to security details. It can be very expensive to be targeted in that way by the administration, even if nothing happens. Just having to lawyer up, having to call security, having to talk to donors who are panicking. Yes,
disrupted.
Yes, and I've not seen a grand Republican resistance to that because there is a sense, and I think Glenn was setting up that, well, that was done to us in the past. So a lot of our people were prosecuted after January 6th. Good for the goose, good for the gander, etc. There's some more justification of that, not the hate speech stuff, but of going after the left in this way. I've not seen much of a resistance to that apart from people like Tom Massey.
Jason, what do you think about this reporting that the president or the administration plan to go after, in some way, left-leaning groups before the end of the month without proving that they've actually done anything wrong?
It's more authoritarian nonsense from this administration, which we've seen. And one thing in particular that bothers me about it is he's like, we're going to go after Antifa. That's like saying you're going after Black Lives Matter. Like, it's a general term, right? Antifa is not necessarily a set group. It is being an anti-fascist. So you can apply that to almost anybody. So if you're just saying we're going to go after anybody who doesn't like fascism, well, are you going after a group? Are you going after a group of middle-aged women in the suburbs who are like, hey, we don't like the fact that you're doing a midterm redistricting? There's lots of things that can fall under that umbrella, but it just goes to show that this administration is about revenge. Because if you can't define the bad guy, you can go after anybody.
Can I just push on something? Because when you started, you said it's more authoritarian nonsense.
Yeah.
When we frame this or think of this as just nonsense, aren't we not taking the threat seriously enough?
Oh, no. I mean nonsense in an insulting, pejorative way. It is bad. I'm not saying nonsense as in it's not important. And it's, as Dave mentioned, this is expensive, right? It is expensive to be harassed by the administration because you have an opinion that they don't like.
And scary.
And scary and dangerous for so many different kinds of reasons. What I fear, frankly, is not just what this administration will do, but the fact that so many different organizations are now going to censor themselves. They're going to stop doing the kind of work they've already done because they're afraid of falling under this ridiculous umbrella of things that the administration themselves can't define and can't explain.
You worked in the White House. What does this idea that they're potentially going to target left-leaning organizations, what's your take?
I mean, it's horrifying. And look, you could apply the same lens to right-leaning organizations, right-leaning nonprofits, right? There are a lot of nonprofits out there who have attacked climate change, who have attacked abortion, who have attacked union groups. You do not see the Biden administration going after them and using this language. Speaking of language, I think it's really important to point out, we've heard from the administration and many of their allies how hyperbolic the left language is, how you shouldn't be using this language for Donald Trump, et cetera. By claiming these crackdowns, by cracking down literally on free speech, Donald Trump is encouraging the very kind of behavior that he claims he doesn't want to see. This behavior is what is evoking this kind of hyperbolic language. You have no choice but to refer to it as this kind of things when you're literally trying to censor half of the country.
All right, new topic. Glenn, Kash Patel, we're going to get to his hearing in a moment, but you've been talking to FBI agents who were fired by Patel. What have you learned?
Well, you know, last week there was this bombshell lawsuit filed by 3 senior members, former agents at the Bureau, including this guy, Brian Driscoll, kind of a folk hero to the rank and file at the FBI. He was the interim director. He stood up to Emile Beauvais, a Justice Department official close to the White House, who wanted him to produce a list of agents who worked on the J6 cases. Well, he got canned by Patel with a couple of other people, and he had this lawsuit, which we wrote about hours before the Charlie Kirk tragedy, so it was overshadowed by it. But in it, he lays out a really stark portrait of both the Justice Department, particularly the FBI, that was being directed towards politically related firings and policy decisions by the White House and by Stephen Miller particularly. I mean, it was the most explicit public demonstration of direct White House control over law enforcement. Subsequently to that, I was a couple of agents who had also been fired, lower level agents, field agents, 2 decorated military veterans who had spent their career working on cases, reached out to me and told me their stories. They're not senior people. They're not people who can be fired without due process. And that's exactly what happened. Both of them, Walter Giardina and Chris Meyer. Chris Meyer, by the way, was Kash Patel's pilot. And Walter Giardina has worked on every major case, really, that the Washington field office has done in the past decade. Both of these guys were fired because they were targeted by MAGA or by Chuck Grassley.